Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Sebastian and Alec with their movie, What Happened to You. Let's take a look at the clip.
I think you misunderstand me when I do the rock on sign. It also means I love you.
I've taken this experience as something that happened. Now what are we going to do?
From the moment it happened, we as a family generated a future that Tom would still be Tom and would be expressive and that he would be himself.
Stephen Hawking is a smart guy and all, but doesn't have the same sex appeal as me.
You know where you got your sex appeal, though, from?
Yeah. Mom.
Thank you both for being here. Thank you, Alec. Thank you, Sebastian. Welcome to the New Filmmakers Los Angeles family. And thank you for bringing this incredible documentary to us, because it was one of the best we've seen, and I'm absolutely in love with it. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, so What Happened to You is about two childhood friends who both now do stand-up comedy, exploring their past trauma together.
It's an amazing friendship. I want to be in this friendship. It's so beautiful, Sebastian. Obviously, the film is about you and your best friend and your exploration through your journey from kids to adulthood through comedy. Tell us a little bit about your friendship, but also how this kind of evolved into being a film with Alec.
Yeah, sure. So Tom is the other guy in the film. We met when we were 4 and immediately became close. And when I was about 8, I started getting molested by another friend's dad. It went on for a few years, and Tom was the first person I ever told about it. And he showed me that it would be possible, to tell people and have them still like me. And that was like a big fear about it, was like, what is the response gonna be? So once I talked to him about it, then it was like, oh man, I could tell my parents, and then I told them, and that was, it was great, as good as it could be, I guess,
Yeah.
And, we had to go to trial, all my friends had to testify, and basically didn't talk about it after that until I started doing stand-up. Because it's something that generally you don't like telling people. It doesn't, whether it's based on the response that you get, it often feels like you're burdening people with your burdens. So stand-up was like this transformative way to share this thing that happened to me that made me feel okay and made me feel okay about telling people, having them laugh. And so I'd been doing that for a number of years, and Alec and I met, and just pretty much immediately very quickly we're like, dude, we should make a movie about this. And so we started working on this feature script for a couple of years, and it was interesting because as we wrote the feature, things kept happening that were, as we were writing it, we're like, oh, this is essential to be in the feature. So we would finish it, and then something would happen in real life that would be like, oh, we gotta now add that in. So it's been an iterative process, but about a year ago, Tom messaged me and he was like, hey man, do you want to do a stand-up show? Because he had started doing stand-up a few months before. And of course, I forgot to say, Tom fell off a roof in college, and he's paralyzed now on his right side. He's in a wheelchair, and he speaks through an iPad. So he does stand-up.
Yeah.
And he writes his jokes out and plays them on stage, and he's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And so I said yes, of course, and then I was talking to Alec about it, and we were like, this is a pretty cool concept for a short film. And so that's a long synopsis of the story.
Well, I just want to say, Sebastian, and to Tom as well, you have this impactful, beautiful friendship we got to see play out on screen. Certainly going through, I've also had the same abuse as well, and you healed. I found your film so healing in a way that I've never felt before. So I commend and I thank you for that. But your relationship with Tom, being there with each other in your darkest moments and seeing this friendship grow the way that it did, it's like a dream sequence of friendship. And so I think your auras resonate with so many that got to see it. Alec, placed in your hands this friendship, this experience. I mean, goodness me, what was that? When did you kind of know that this was going to be a film? Because I mean, this film has so many layers of impact thanks to Sebastian and Tom. How did it kind of work out for you, like to turn it into a film?
Yeah, so when I met Sebastian, I was kind of in a place where I think if you were to ask me, like, the last thing I would ever want to make a film about is probably child molestation.
Yeah, right.
And then I saw Sebastian's comedy, and it was really moving to me, and I hadn't really seen it talked about in that way. And we had discussed, like, currently the media that exists about this subject is like leaving Neverland, and that's
Yeah.
a very doesn't really encourage people to speak
Yeah.
up, I think, and
Yeah.
make you feel like it's okay to talk about it. And then once I met Sebastian, I saw his content, pretty much immediately shifted my perspective and was like, I would love to tackle this subject. And then, of course, what happened to Tom was when he started doing comedy, it was, how could we not get this? And I think with Sebastian, it was always this super positive attitude, talking about what happened to you, and then getting to meet Tom and seeing him doing a similar thing with what happened to him was very motivating.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What was the journey like? Because obviously, you know, you guys built a connection together, right? But, you know, it's so important in documentary filmmaking for your subjects to trust and to kind of go on that journey with them. Like, how is your process in working with that? Because it's not easy. It's not easy, especially when you talk about difficult subjects. But, you know, of course, you gave us the lens of comedy to kind of bring that through too.
Yeah, Sebastian and Tom made my job really easy. There wasn't really much conflict in terms of like what's okay to show, what's not okay to show.
That's the best part about talking about these things. Like immediately everything's on the table. Once you're like, I got molested. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm like Sebastian's like literally one of my best friends in the world, so it was a very collaborative process, and there was nothing that was really off the table, and it was an open collaboration throughout. He was very integral to the notes process, and I'm like super lucky that I had him through that process.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Again, in documentary filmmaking, you never quite know what you're going to get. How did you go setting about? What was that journey like in sort of what you wanted to capture? And then the difference of like, you know, as in every documentary, when you're working on it, there are things that you discover that you didn't know was going to be there, essentially.
I took a different approach to this than a typical verite documentary. I think we really curated the shot list and everything that we would be shooting beforehand. We had a general idea of what the story was, and we really try to compose every single frame in a very specific way. And there weren't as many verite moments that we had with them. Instead, it was, we have a very clear idea of what this story is. The whole thing's in 4:3 aspect ratio, trying to simplify, because there's a lot of information to process throughout that film. So really trying to simplify what information we're actually looking at and how we're processing it. But throughout the actual process of shooting, we had a very clear idea of all of our shots going into it, and we really try to just stick to those and know that the story will kind of lead these visuals.
Absolutely.
And on that note, just was gonna say there were a lot of like also sort of improv-y moments that happened. Like Tom got confused. We shot 2 different open mics, and Tom got confused on one of the open mics because another guy in the film, Max Wysong, was hosting. Long story short, Tom thought he was supposed to go up and roast Max.
Oh.
It's totally not at all part of the script. And so he has this whole sequence of him just making fun of Max and Max making fun of him. And none of that was planned. And it ended up being this like essential part of the piece that's like, this is not limited to just me and Tom or anyone. This is for everyone. This is available for everyone if you want it to be.
Yeah.
And then in the same vein, when we went back to the courthouse where the trial happened, we were getting some shots, and right when we finished, we were packing up the car with all the gear, and this lady came up to us, this very like psychedelic looking lady. She had like purple hair, and she was probably like 75 or something. She was like, hey, what are you guys filming? And we told her what was going on. I was like, yeah, I got molested. And she was like, oh my God, I got molested too.
Yeah.
She in the courthouse parking lot.
Wow.
And we ended up having this like long, because Alec, we talked with her for a few minutes, and then Alec was like, would you be cool if we film this? And we were like, she was like, yeah, I guess, sure. I'm 75. Let's do it. Run it. You know, I'm down. And we ended up having this amazing conversation with her. And we had to shorten it because of the short film length and all these things. But it was just another instance of what happens with the openness.
Yeah.
People hear you share that in a way that's so not heavy.
Yeah.
It's light and it's easy, and it makes it possible really for anyone when you immediately get to that level of vulnerability.
Absolutely.
And so likewise, thank you so much for sharing about what happened to you.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think as well, like, this is what's so powerful about your friendship with Tom, because he gave you the space to speak about what you went through, and then equally you were there for him in what happened to him. And I think, do not underestimate how wonderful friends you are, and like, you know, give credit to you, Sebastian, because you are an incredible best friend. Like,
thank you.
Not everyone would have been as dedicated to someone who's been through an experience like that in your warmth, from your kindness and your friendship. And like that's powerful. Like, you know, I think people really got to see just the true art of being a good friend, and for all the changes that life will bring us. So, you know, and that was really captured on screen, wasn't it?
On that note, I think like that was the biggest shift for me, is going in and trying to tell both of their stories. And then as I was actually spending time with them and seeing them together, it was very clear, like, this is the most beautiful friendship I've ever seen.
Oh, it really is, yeah.
And that was my first time, like, really spending time with Tom and Tom and Sebastian together. And it was almost like I've never seen a friendship like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, testament to both your characters and what you've experienced, and you know, and so how did the comedy element come for both of you? Was this something that was like at 4 years old, I want to be a stand-up comedian? Like, what was the experience like with that? Like, how was that?
Thank you both for saying that. Yeah, it's very synchronistic, just becoming, I don't know how I managed to meet Tom, of all people, at that point in my life, and to have somebody, we talk about this in the film, but like, I got so lucky to have had a friend that responded in the way that he did to me telling him about the molestation, because it felt easy. It's the lightness that we're talking about. And if that's the response that you're met with, it's the whole thing becomes easy. And that's what we're trying to do with the film, is basically show people that whether it's molestation or paralysis, wherever you are on this trauma spectrum, everyone has something that's happened to them.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, you can make it through it.
Well, there's a lot on your young shoulders, though, to like, you know, I mean, you know, to go through those things, but also even in the response of like seeing your best friend, like nobody wants to see someone you care about and you love hurt, right? Or going through things, and having to do that in early years of your life. I mean, testament to what you had to experience too, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was, and I've talked to many people on the podcast, also called What Happened to You. It's basically the same concept as the film, normalizing conversations about trauma using humor.
Yeah.
So I've talked to lots of people who didn't have that support. They weren't believed by people that they told, family members, whoever it is, for many different reasons. But what is consistent in all of those stories is that no matter how many people don't believe you, there will always be people that do. And it just takes consistency, persistence, authenticity with yourself, not shutting down because of where other people are at, what they think of you. There will always be a group of people out there for you that understand you on a level that you may not realize if you've just been met with this resistance, which is so much of reality currently because most people are not talking about it in this way.
Yeah, no,
it's
absolutely.
Very resistant.
Absolutely, and you're opening the gateway and the door to just, you know, kind of almost ease into the ability to kind of talk through things, you know, because it always feels so heavy on the person, but it's so nice when you can resonate with someone who's either A, experienced it, or B, can kind of not make it feel as heavy as it's been carried for all of those years as well.
Totally,
and
that's, I think, sorry, I just...
Yeah, no, please.
One of the things, too, is it's one of the best parts of this is the response from whatever it is that's happened to people. It's like, you know, whenever we do stand-up or after the filming, it was like multiple people were telling us that they were molested too. In addition to all these other things, people talking about, oh my God, I had my best friend, you guys reminded me of my own friendship. And whatever it is that's happened to you, there's this resonance when you see the possibilities, the
Yeah.
vulnerability. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's so cool, is that it doesn't really matter what has happened to you. People get it.
Yeah.
People understand you.
Yeah,
Regardless
absolutely.
of what's happened.
And I think the nice thing that you expressed in the way you made the film, Alec, is the kind of, you know, there's a gentleness that you kind of had in displaying these friendships, and whether it's something that people see a physical trauma or experience or disability that they've experienced, or whether it's internal, you know, we never quite know. And I think we always should just, you know, we got to be in a space where we're a little bit easy on each other before we kind of ready to jump at someone, because we never know what quite one has gone through. There's so many multi-layers to this film, like in so many impactful ways. For you as a director, what did you want your audience to take from the film?
I think the main thing is it's going to be okay, just talk about it. I think that is like the call to action of this film, and we went back and forth on whether or not to put a question mark at the end when the title comes on, and I think that was because it really is this call to action to people watching it to feel okay to see this and then talk about what happened to them, to whomever.
I love that. I love that. Well, I'm glad you two found each other, because you two are a little dream team over here. Seriously, but you know, sending love to Tom as well, and to all of the amazing crew that you had together. What is next for you both, and also not just what's next, but you've also built something special with this film as well.
Yeah. I'll let you go first on what's next for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, the goal is to get this seen by everyone who can benefit from it, which I think is everyone.
Yeah.
The world. Like, we were
Yeah.
just laughing about this before this. We were like, oh yeah, the audience is the world,
Yeah.
because who hasn't, even if you haven't had something happen to you, that's tough.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
I remember I had a friend in college who, we had this night we were all just sort of opening up, and he was like, I don't feel like I have anything that is like this, and that makes me feel alone. So even if you don't have, it's like everyone's in the same boat of the human experience, and we're like trying to navigate it. And I think that's basically the goal, is to help as many people as possible.
You're doing it.
And thank you. And then on top of that, you know, we started this foundation a number of years back because of this. Posted a TikTok of the one of the bits from the film, and it ended up doing, you know, a few million views very quickly, and immediately the response was so intense. You know, thousands of people reaching out saying all sorts of different things that had happened to them. They wanted to talk about it on the podcast. It was just immediately recognizing, oh, this is, because this has happened at stand-up shows, you know, at an open mic with 10 people, somebody comes up and says this happened to them. But the same thing holds if you show it to the world. You know, there's like a billion, statistically, it's like roughly a 1.5 billion people, you know, have had these types of experiences, and then the whole world has had some type of experience. So, yeah, the foundation is just a way to encompass all these different projects that we have, and it's all tax deductible and 501c3, all that stuff. So
amazing.
try to make it as easy as possible for people to contribute in a way that is helpful for them too.
I love that.
So the foundation, the podcast, and the feature, and then it's just, yeah, I mean, after, you know, showing the film yesterday, it was like, we just feel so lucky, you know, to be here, and we're so grateful for you guys. It was such an incredible experience. Everyone that we met was like, it was just intense resonation, and it felt so good to be seen by people in that way. That's like, oh, you get it.
Yeah.
you know, and it's,
Well, the film was all
lucky.
about love. I mean, it was like so much love in there. It was just so beautiful, and just so many feelings. And so we just are grateful that you brought the film to us, honestly, because this film needs to be, you know, universally seen. You can't help but not feel watching your film in so many capacities. So, you know, it's why we need documentaries, it's why we need it. And, you know, you're the epitome of a fantastic documentary, honestly. What's next for you? What's next for you, Alex? What's going on?
Like me personally, or for the film
I mean,
in
life,
general?
you know, anything, you know.
I think for the film, I think the goal is get it seen by as many people as possible. This process has been great, and kind of getting feedback from people and hearing that it resonates with anyone is an awesome process. Yeah, for the film, we're trying to get a feature off the ground, a scripted feature. And for me personally, I have a feature doc that's also in the circuit. And I think in general, my work is trying to shed light on things like this.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, we you know, we need this film. It just reminds us of just the humanity and love and just supporting each other and how important community is, and and just speaking out about your truths in an impactful and sometimes comedic way. So there you go. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to our crazy New Filmmakers LA family, and we can't wait for the feature. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
So
so much.
happy to be a part of it.